Hi, everyone. My name is Lee Honish. I am the former head loss mitigator for IndyMac Bank's HELOC division, over 30 plus years of working in default properties, and I am the owner and president of Home Advocates. Joining me today is I don't like to show favorites, but I got to be honest, one of my favorite advocates that I work with, Antonio Atoche. How are you, Antonio?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Outstanding. And I see that you're coming from your restaurant. So
Yeah,
let's do a gratuitous plug for the restaurant.
sure. Well, Pollo Inca, we're in Gardena. It's a Peruvian restaurant. Been there for 30 years, 30 plus years. And we serve Peruvian food, rotisserie chicken, lomo saltado, all this great Peruvian food that people end up loving once they try it. And the hot sauce and the soup that you like, which is the aguaditos, the chicken soup. So it's perfect for today. It's a rainy day. People, I'm pretty sure, taking advantage of getting an extra soup.
I would say this to everybody because I'm a keto eater. This is exactly what you want. It's all the protein, still got a little bit of the fatty to it. It's all the food's delicious. I can't recommend it enough. One of my favorite places in the world. More importantly, you're in the middle of Southern California. So you are a real estate professional and
I
you
am.
are also an advocate who works with distressed property people. So let's cover first what is the what's other I mean what is central Los you're centrally located in Los Angeles. Where are you in regards to working with people in real estate? What are your real target areas?
Oh, the cities that I work in? Well, I mean, my office is in Gardena, a couple doors down from the restaurant there. So I service, Gardena, Torrance, Lawndale, Hawthorne, Carson, Wilmington, anything around there, uh, Lomita, Harbor City, Compton, LA, Long Beach. I'm pretty much centrally located. And my office is right there where all the freeways are. So I can go anywhere I want pretty much pretty fast.
No doubt about it. What is the climate of homeowners at the moment for selling? This is of great concern to me because today we're going to talk about actual people in default, and you and I have been through this already, and what that looks like compared to 2007, and tell some of those stories so people can relate. I think there's a lot of fear behind it. I think there's a lot going on. But first, I want to get into the mindset of current people you're working with. Do they think there's anything wrong with the market?
The market and area is still kind of low inventory, so it's not multiple offers. There are multiple offers, but not like before where we had like 15, 20 offers almost right away with first day or two. But it is changing slowly, and I'm starting to see more people that were in default that are coming up in our area, and I think it's a trend that's going to start growing.
That's a good segue. See, you're perfect for broadcast. That's the segue for today. So 3 days ago, and there will probably be an article in the middle of the screen, depending on how the post editing works. And by the way, if you have any questions at any time, right below in the comment field, there's phone numbers and contact information for Antonio if you're in the Southern California area. If you can't remember that, just Google Home Advocates. He's right on the front page. Call us on the 800 number and we'll make sure to get a hold of him for you. Black Knight 3 days ago created a press release that is now running around on the web. And I think the interesting thing to note is two numbers, right? We always do year over year, things don't look so bad, those kinds of things. What I wanted to talk about was people that are more than 30 days delinquent. There are 2 million people. I'm rounding it for the sake of the argument. And people that are more than 90 days delinquent are 1.2 million people. If you add those two numbers up, that is 3.2 million people in default. So that got me thinking as a former banker, well, what's that look like historically when it goes to 2007 or 2008, which is what most people remember as the last real estate crash and where we first met. And in 2007, here's a staggering little number. In 2007, right in the heart of it starting to fall apart, there were only 2.2 million people in some form of default based on a realty track report that I pulled up. So I'm not a rocket scientist at math. I say that to everybody as a banker. So 3.2 is more then 2.2 by a million. And that last market was considered catastrophic, right, for real estate. And I want to go one step further for everybody looking at numbers. At that point, they were looking at an approximate default rate of approximately 3 or 4% overall. If you total up everything, it gets closer to 9 or 10%. Going back to the Black Knight report, currently we're at about, what did they put us at? They are saying that we are 2.25% overall delinquency. So you're adjusting for the amount of inventory as well. So we're not that far off from those numbers of 2007. So let's rewind the clock and talk about the confusion between then and now and what people might have to discuss, Antonio. First and foremost, back in those days, back when we were first doing all this stuff, how was the homeowner? I know that you have many homeowners that you've worked with. So let's start there. What were homeowners like in the 2007 to 10 crash from your perspective?
Oh, a lot of people started defaulting. Prices stopped jumping up almost. Because they were appreciating pretty much almost every month until 2007 to the end where it stopped. The loans were not easy to get. They got tough. So homeowners that were thinking they were going to refi to this teaser rate that they got real cheap in the beginning to make the payments. They weren't able to really make the real payment what it was. So, and the prices were so high that it's pretty much people start paying, and people were starting to lose their jobs too and weren't making the payments. So more, what can I say? All I remember is that we got a lot of defaults first, a lot of, and then it turned into a bunch of REOs in 2009, 10, and 11, pretty much, where in some areas, as you know, went half price, like especially Inland Empire. Here in our area, it did go down probably 30% or so, somewhere in that range. But some prices it just went so much. Of course, other states like Florida, Las Vegas, Arizona. Unbelievable what happened. Everything came like half price or 60% off. No equity then.
And that created what I think most real estate agents and most homeowners were afraid of. They were afraid of the short sale market, right? For those of you who don't know, a short sale is when the value of the property is not enough to pay off the loans. And that became a real thing, and it was a difficulty for real estate agents to handle. It took specialized people like Antonio to be able to circumnavigate those situations. So from that perspective, was it harder to convince people to sell in those days when they didn't have equity? Was it harder to convey the value of eliminating the debt?
In the beginning, a lot of people, they don't believe it's happening to them. So they don't react right away. But as time goes by, they start seeing that 1 month, another month, 3-4 months, when then they know that it's very hard to catch up after that. They just, with no equity, some people just walked away, and some of them learned that they can stay in the house for a long time using legal techniques. But at the end, the title transfers because, you got to pay the bank at some time. Either you catch up or the bank takes it back. But it was no equity for many people at that time in those years. So.
Fair enough. Now let's jump ahead, right? We're in a new market. Nobody's got FICO scores going. Nobody really knows that they're in default. Everybody did a forbearance. And more importantly, on average in the United States, here's an interesting fun fact. There's $51,500 on average in equity in homes in the United States. It's a complete opposite of the previous situation when people started to sell. So again, people I see this in the media and I see this in methodology or discussing about the current market. Because there's equity, somehow they believe that people are going to be more apt to sell their homes and take out their equity. As you look at people today who've done forbearance agreements and that are behind on payments because of COVID, do they understand the equity, or is it still the same kind of eternal internal struggle of I'm losing my home?
Well, we have to show them that, hey, listen, if you don't have the money to pay for it, and you lose your equity, all of it, if you don't catch up. Number one, if you're able to catch up, cool. If you can't, and there's no way to catch up, just consider selling, because otherwise, like I said, the difference between now and 2007 is you have equity, and the advantage is there's not too many homes on the market. So, and there are buyers out there that want to buy and then ready and able to qualify and buy that property. But if we get a flood of them, you're just going to compete with everybody else, and your equity will shrink down, because at some point everybody's going to be the best price property to sell. And we'll get to that, at some point.
I think that's the confusion. You've been in real estate for how many years now?
Well, since 87, 30 something years.
No, you're as bad as me. As crazy as me. So yeah, you got me. I've only got you. No, you've got me by 1 year. Jeez.
All right.
It's a long time. So I think people are confused by this, right? Like, I got to make an immediate decision before the bottom falls out. And that's not how real estate works historically. It takes a bit of time. Certainly you want to be at the peak of the market, right? But you've seen this now. This would be, based on our math, our third cycle through this kind of market, right? Real estate always goes up, real estate always comes down.
Sure.
The first one that I think we went through in the 80s wasn't really based on a crazy default rate. It was more based on, for those of you historians out there, we made loans and second and third loans to everyone on the planet, apparently. And it was a very weird time. The second one, which is the most notable, which is the 07, we basically gave out HELOCs and teaser rates and loans again. This one is based on COVID and a forbearance agreement that everybody signed. I don't think knowing that a forbearance agreement is actually defaulting on your loan again. So in a way, it's kind of like it's about loans and certainly people not being able to pay. I'm curious. Where do you think everything's going over the next 6 months, right? We're now in the quote unquote slower period of sales, which isn't true in California, but nationally that becomes the case. And that becomes something people talk about locally. Real estate is local to each market, even each city, right? You have to be a specialist for each city. Where do you see it all going?
Well, I know I heard you talk before regarding forbearance, and there's quite a lot of people that did that. And right now they're not, reporting those FICO scores. So, they're sitting pretty, but once they are not, a lot of these are going to add up at some point. Like I said, the bank wants their money and the forbearance is over. So if they don't catch up, these guys they're not going to be able to buy another property. They're not going to be able to refinance to save their house unless they get a hard money lender. They have equity, maybe they would, but they can't make the first payment on a regular interest rate. It's going to be really tough to make it on those hard money loans. So I would see there would be more properties to sell. More properties to sell. I know that the bank maybe get a little tougher to qualify for loans if this thing's happening, but so there might be good prices, good properties to buy, and sometime next year.
Yeah. And here's what people don't get. We're now talking a supply and demand issue, and everybody's fearful of the crash. If properties become available, that's going to drive the property down. It's just a case of inventory increase. And I've said all along, actually until this article, until many articles recently, I said, market correction, some markets crash, in general. But now looking at these numbers that just came out from the third quarter, and comparing them to where we were at the beginning of the 2007 cycle, what I find most astonishing is we're in a more dire situation. People really aren't working right now. People don't want to go back to work right now. People were given money and they became comfortable with all of that. And we've got a greater number than at the beginning of the previous cycle. And it's all being blown off because, again, this year over year thing that the powers that be in real estate do. Well, year over year, we're down, we're up, year over year. Okay, I agree. Year over year during COVID, you're right. Foreclosure activity was 0.1 or some crazy number like that. It doesn't add up. people aren't seeing the bigger picture of what's going on around them. So again, it's about this equity that's sitting out there. On the houses you're listing and working with right now, is the equity that great right now in Southern California?
Yes, the equities are great, man, right now. So everything seems like it went 100,000 almost every year for the last 2 years.
Sure.
It's pretty much all the areas around. Some areas a little more, but people have a lot of equity right now. So I think some should take advantage if it's the right thing to do for them.
What are the hottest markets right now around you?
Well, listen, I have here in Torrance, there's nothing available. I mean, everything just went into escrow for 3-bedroom, 2 baths. I mean, for example, last week there were like 12, and I logged in because I searching home for a buyer, and there was nothing. I mean, they go pretty fast. They come in and go, and we're even in the higher ranges. I have another family looking in like Rancho PV, but the east side, like 1.1, 1.2. I mean, they're getting a decent amount of showings. But will it last long? Like you said, the equity is still good, and some people are not working, and some people won't get back to work because they're not going to be able to get the job back because some jobs got eliminated. But everything's going up in prices. So let's say there's more inventory. At some point, there's not going to be enough buyers anyways to buy them because some of them won't have good credit or they won't have the income to qualify.
I just have a curious question because I was thinking about it right now as a Charger fan. Did the value of property around the stadium go up when the stadium finally got open and started to get use? I was wondering what the impact around an area that historically, over towards the Inglewood side of Torrance and everything else, historically are a little more depressed. Did everything in the area come up when the stadium opened?
Definitely did, and it's very good because it's so many businesses are going to be built around, which they already are anyways. But properties are up. Hey, but just like when it happened in Carson they had a Home Depot Center with the Galaxy place.
Right.
Those homes in that area also went up. But what also goes up for the poor homeowners is all that traffic that they're going to see when they try to get home. But I bet they'll be happy having that extra equity though, built up.
I think in the old days, people would say, well, I can't live in LA. I either have to live in a place where I feel like I would get shot, or I've got to go live in Riverside or San Bernardino. And that's not the case anymore. Things that were considered Gardena, for that matter, Inglewood, places where people were quote unquote more fearful, are actually, I don't like the word gentrified. That's such a ridiculous word that people use who are narrow-minded. The truth is, you economically brought the area up. It helped the residents because you brought in and treated people like human beings, which I think happens in those situations. Mm-hmm. I noticed this after going to the stadium recently, and even driving down. As a kid, going to the Forum was terrifying to me, right? You go down the 110, you jump off, you got to go down that long stretch. People are out at 3 a.m. It was terrifying in the 70s and 80s. And as I did it the other day, I was telling this to the CEO of the company. I'm like, it's silly how much nicer it is. I mean, these are really viable areas now to live in without any kind of fear that were previously attached. Is there still a stigma to the area?
Just by the name, some people get fearful, but once they start driving and going through, for example, you mentioned, you drove around, but, oh yeah, back in the days, it's pretty scary to go there. But right now, if you go on Century Boulevard, right where it's called Hollywood Park, which is well, this stadium is, Hollywood Park on the corner, the stadium, SoFi Stadium, and there, the Forum back, everything's there, but they've got brand new shopping centers with all the restaurants that you would want to eat. Everything's there. So that brings the value also. So it at the same time increases the niceness of the city. So people start fixing up their properties, but once they sell it, it's very hard to some people to buy because there's such expensive homes now.
Yeah,
like everything else around the area. So you're gonna get people that work at SpaceX down in Hawthorne trying to buy them, things like that. But
yeah, I noticed it the other day. My daughter was performing on the other side of Torrance, and I was looking at the homes and I was looking at the area. And again, I was with the CEO of the company, and he was saying, I bet these are expensive. I said, they weren't always.
No,
they weren't always. I said, now it's prime time real estate where you're spending, into the millions on some of these houses. I said, but no, this was, just blue collar living on the outskirts of LA. We just have such a shortage of property out there,
Yeah.
especially in Southern California, in really nice areas. Now it's forcing all the areas to improve the schools. The things that people feared overall, right? Well, you can't bring that in. We can't live there because of the quality of the schools. Well, when you increase the quality of life, you then increase the quality of the surroundings, like schools. From your perspective, have you seen the growth in all these areas?
Yes. They also are building more homes in our area where they used to be nurseries. They tear them down. They build brand new homes. They're like three story. They look like a square, but they're like 900,000. So they're becoming more, of course, more revenue to the city, and they get to fix up their schools. But still, some people choose public schools, some people choose private schools. But for example, Gardena, I'll just tell you real quick. 2 years ago, say 2.5 years ago, the house was selling for 550. Now they're closer to 800. I mean, it's the 3 bedroom, 2 bath, man. It's just crazy.
It's crazy. Even as you say it, it still sounds crazy, right?
Yeah.
But that's just the way it is.
Mhm.
And those prices are going to come down. I don't want to break it to anybody. The prices are artificially high because of supply and demand. And that was the reason why we started this conversation. Antonio and I are going to be here each and every week to talk about Southern California.
Yeah.
And we want to bring you the latest information. And the latest information right now is if you have equity, you might want to consider a cash out refi before you lose that equity. You certainly, if you took out a forbearance or you missed payments because of COVID, you should really address getting that sale in place and getting that equity out of your property. Is there anything from your point of view that anybody in the Southern California area should know with real estate?
Yeah, just keep an eye on things. If you have any questions, just reach out, and we'll be happy to give you the latest info that's going on. But right now, it's the forbearance, ending, and of course, the rental, the freebies that the people were getting, it's over now. So a lot of people are gonna get kicked out of their homes at some point. I got extended, I believe, but still, it's just a matter of time, yeah, check with us. We'll be here to help whenever. If you have any questions, the home advocates, just reach out. We'll be happy to give you what the information you want, and you make the choice. Whatever is best for you. We'll be here ready to help you and guide you to whatever questions and answers you may need.
Yeah, you can definitely. I'm trying to figure out how to point with cameras. I never get it right. Below Antonio is his cell phone numbers. If you're driving and you can't write it down, or you're not watching a video and you're listening to the audio, just go to just dial 833 WOW HOPE, right, and leave a message, and Antonio will call you back. It's 833 WOW HOPE. That's the Home Advocates website, or Google Home Advocates, or Antonio Atoche. That's a lot of letters, and that might be difficult, but you can pull that one off too. Whatever the case, we can get you in contact with him and make sure that you get help. And for the next year, we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about, hopefully, I don't want to track this all the way into the ground and that it won't be as awful as I personally think it's going to be. I would like to talk about really the significance of how much the area down there of what quote unquote the South Bay has really become, right? In the old days, it was just the tip of Long Beach and these little Manhattan Beach outlying communities that everybody talked about, and they never talked about the actual cities. And to me, the most amazing part of recently going up there was the cities have really flourished. They're amazing places to be with lots of diversity and great food, like El Pollo Inca. Yeah, that was a great comeback plug for anybody listening. But that's the truth, right? You're missing out on the diversity and the greatness of the city. Is there anything like you'd like to add for this week, Antonio?
No, just pretty much keep tuned, keep watching our videos that we share with Lee and I, and we'll always give you the latest info. And at some point, somebody that you might know, somebody that they need to hear it, please let them know about it. Forward our information or forward the YouTube video, and we're here to help people. You know, and, help them with the best decision they need. They think it's for them, and like I said, we're here to guide them. And you know, been a real estate for a long time. So if that ends up being what I need to do to help you, then that's what we'll do. Otherwise, you know, we'll give you the best scenario for you to you know to consider taking an approach on. Mm-hmm.
And I like to close with my favorite words: click, like, subscribe. I'm not going to say anything that the kids say. They say smash. I don't. I refuse. As a banker, I refuse to say those words. But I will say, click the like, click the subscribe. Don't be shy about sending emails. They're all listed here on the screen and down below. Very, very simple. And if you're driving and listening, because this is also a podcast and on a couple of broadcast platforms, just Google Home Advocates when you can stop. You'll see Antonio right on the front page. We'll get you directly to him. That's the way the whole system works out for everybody. We appreciate everyone listening or watching us, and we'll be here for the next year getting you through Southern California. Thanks.
Thank you.